How many times did you deploy while you were with MARSOC?
I deployed. I did 3 deployments to. Well, I mean, combat deployments. I did 3 deployments, all to Helmand.
Okay. And what was,
Yeah.
there's obviously different types of deployments for the different MSOTs that are going over there, either the commando
Yeah.
mission or like stuff like that. What was your like your first deployment? What were you doing?
So I got a little taste of like all 3 of the kind of ones that we would do. So the first one was early on. So we were basically like a cat team. We were just operating out of gun trucks, not doing anything that I was considered to be special operations. It was literally like go drive towards the green zone, get in gunfight, call CAS, be out there for three to 5 days, go back, that kind of thing. So that was the first deployment working out of Fob Price, so in Garesh. So working Garesh all the way up to Musakala
Was
in
it
gun
was it so
trucks.
you're saying mostly presence patrols, mostly just like showing that hey, we have
No,
people in this
like
area or
movement to like straight up, like we would just get told where there was pockets of Taliban, and it was like movement to contact, like go
okay.
straight towards where they are and fight. Like that was it.
Go dig them up. Yeah, that's
And
pretty wild.
it was, you know, in hindsight, it was a lot of fighting, but in hindsight, it was like for what? We weren't really targeting. We weren't going after any specific personalities or networks. We were not. We were not building partner force capacity because we were taking out our partner force were these ALP guys that we just call them pirates. They were
Yeah.
like
God.
they were barely military. They weren't. They were police, but they weren't even really that.
They don't even wear uniforms.
We don't.
ALP.
We took no. They were. We took out only as many as we needed in order to get the con op sold. They were like what was required to get us outside the wire, but then we would pretty much be unilateral.
This is a
So
joint patrol.
yeah. It's that whole mess, right? So very, very, I mean, good experience because we got to fight a lot, and I got to learn about like, kind of how things work in the Helmand and like some of the TTPs that would remain, TTPs that I'd see for the next few years. But so then the next deployment, where I'm at Robinson, which is like kind of a VSP. At the time, it wasn't. Eventually, Fob Rob would get built up, and the 611 would get paved, and it would be kind of like a base. And actually, the company headquarters later on would occupy Fob Rob. When we were there, 611 wasn't paved. Everything we ate, all the fuel we burned, all the water we drank, had to come out of the sky on parachutes, right? So we were basically 100% supplied by bundle drops, which was an unmitigated pain in the ass. Like we're doing 2 of those drops a week probably, and that's of course the deployment where I'm doing the JTAC thing. So it's like,
I was gonna say that's a good workout for
twice.
your JTAC.
Oh, dude. In addition to everything else going on, like twice a week, I'm out there at 3 a.m, like, clearing C-130s to drop like our water bottles or whatever, and then spending the next 4 hours picking them up with bobcats and loading them on flat. This is one thing. The interesting part about these VSP village stability platform, deployments where an MSOT or a soft team basically goes out wherever and lives kind of in the Ville, and then lives and fights from inside the Ville. Also is meant to raise up a militia force from that environment, train them, employ them, pay them, fight alongside them, all that kind of stuff. So it's real like, unconventional warfare, kind of like build up your G-force type of thing, real like soft type stuff, right? But on those deployments, like by then I'd become a Dari linguist, right? So now I'm in language, so in host nation language, working with an actual partner force, talking. It was a totally different flavor deployment because I'm doing a bunch of stuff I'd never done before. So I'm doing partner force stuff in language. I'm fighting alongside these guys using the language. I'm doing JTAC stuff, which was new to me. I'm also I was also the pay agent for the team. So I'm managing that op fund I was talking about. But we had a bunch of projects going on. We built a clinic right down on the 611. We built a chow hall. So now I'm like doing all this like accounting and project management stuff that I'm like learning on the internet. Like I'm trying to balance the books. It's like the weirdest shit, right? I'm literally like balancing books, hiring and firing employees. I'm building a clinic, fighting every few days, dealing with. When you live with these people, and I'm sure you've lived with them, it's just the weirdest. Like, just things would happen. Like I'll give you a quick one. So the Fob Robinson's big. It's like, I can't remember how many square kilometers, but it occupies the top of a pretty big plateau looking down on the 611 and upper Garesh Valley in Helmand, right alongside the Nari Siraj Canal, which is just adjacent to the Helmand River.
Mm-hmm.
So very kinetic there. So like you could slug it out with the Taliban right from the HESCO barriers, and we would sometimes. Like we'd go to the clinic and we'd get in fights like right around the fob all the time. And then the exterior, there was like six or seven tower positions that were manned by these guys called ASG guards. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's a contracting company that hires Afghans. These mostly were Uzbeks. So a bunch of Uzbekis that were employees of this ASG company, and they were manning these guard towers on our base. But they're like a infantry unit. You know, they're not like rent-a-cops. They have like machine guns and shit. Like they're in, you know, in these like tan uniforms and shit. But these dudes would be out there, and one of the projects we did was we built them bee huts to live in and stuff. But prior to that, they're just like living out like goats at these towers. You know what I mean? Just kind of like living under these lean-tos, and just is crazy. They kept getting shot. So they would, you know, there's a Taliban sniper out in the Ville, kept plugging these dudes. So we had to put like armor, like glass from our blown up trucks and stuff, like the armor from our vehicles. We're building them little armored like cupolas in these towers. Some mess. Well, me being the dude that speaks Dari, I'm doing whatever one day, and there's a commotion, and they're like, hey, the ASG guards are at our gate. They're freaking out. You got to go over there. I go over there. They got a dead guy in the back of we loan them a Humvee so they can have one. And there's a dead dude in the back of the Humvee. I'm like, what's going on with this guy? And they're so agitated, and my Dari's not that good. I'm like, no, we need to get a real terp. Get the real terp figured out. So what ended up happening was they got a batch of new dudes, you know, replacement guys or whatever for these guards. Well, one of the new dudes used to live in the same village as the guard force commander, this older dude that was dead. So by the way, the guy that's dead is the guard force commander. So they used to live in the same village, and when the replacement guy was a kid, this guard force commander used to rape him.
Oh my god!
Because that's how they do.
Yeah.
So he was, you know, botcha-boz shit going on, and he botcha-boz this dude back in the day. So when he shows up off the helicopter, the guard force commander's like, "Oh, hey, I know you," and he's like, "It's gonna be like it used to be." And the guy's like, "No." Yeah, basically, yeah. What up, girl? And he's like, "No, I'm a man. Well, I don't do that anymore." And he's like, "Yeah, you work here, you do." And so the guy like waited until he could get away with it, and he just blasted him.
Fuck, man.
So I was like, and then it's like, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. We had to put him in our freezer until they could get a helicopter out there like a couple days later to get him out of there. You know what I mean? Like,
and what'd you guys do with the dude that killed him?
Oh, they just moved him to a different place in the country.
Like, you're a commander now.
They like just, yeah, they're like, it's lawless, dude. Like it's, you know.
Yeah, it's
so it's like that's the kind of thing. Like in the VSP, you're dealing with like life stuff. You know, it's not just like go out and fight. You know, do your tactical mission. It's like most of it is like how do we maintain ourselves out here? How do we keep and then it's like if you don't do enough, you know, kind of like regular infantry style patrolling around your base, then that bubble shrinks. You don't have any white space, right? So you have to be out there kind of bloody in their nose enough so that they don't encroach. And the team that we replaced, the ODA that we replaced, had not been keeping up that white space. So that's why we had these problems, you know, and it took us a good chunk of our deployment to kind of like get out there, push these guys back, build up some better infrastructure, get more systems. You know, it was like this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like when Marines show up, there's a lot of great special forces units for sure, but like this particular team that we had replaced were just kind of lazy. And it was like, we're like, okay, you guys take a lot of IDF. Do you have a counter battery radar? No. You know that they'll give you one, right? If you ask, right? They're free. You don't have to buy it. Like, turns out the military has them. You should have one, you know? Because it's like, oh, you're taking IDF. Where's the IDF? Are you taking more? We're taking mortars all the time, you know? 60 and 81 millimeter or whatever, 80 millimeter mortars. And it's like, where are these coming from? Well, we don't really know. Well, we should know so we could kill these people and stop them, you know? Like,
yeah, it's kind of annoying. Maybe we don't want this to happen all the time.
Dude, and it's like, hey, you know, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? It's just because they hadn't done it, you know, and it's like, oh, we don't really, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to show up and we're going to do the Marine thing and just basically work a lot.